Do your little Yodi thing that you did on the podcast.
Judge Beam, my size to you? Do or do not? There is no try.
Oh, that's our lead-in.
Welcome to another edition of Access Sports Weekly here on AccessWDUN.com. Bo Wilson alongside Jeff Hart and Seth Chapman behind the camera. Actually, he has a camera today, so he is our producer, as usual, here on the show. Welcome to the show, gentlemen.
Always good to be here.
Always good to be here.
I don't have a choice.
Your mic's not on.
I don't have a choice of being here.
That's why you're locked away behind the board.
But I have a camera.
You do have a camera. So, anyway.
My voice will be heard.
That is the station's security camera.
It's my camera. I brought this from my house.
It is mine.
I don't have this on the agenda here.
I don't either.
I'm trying to follow along here.
Yeah, most definitely. All right. So, Jeff, week 8, a very interesting week. Region front runners are beginning to take shape after week number 8.
A little bit. It's still a little fuzzy. You know, those things like the face recognition thing, and they're trying to pick somebody. We're about halfway done, and you can almost make it out, but you're not really sure.
So, any interesting things for you last week on the week 8 action?
On the week 8 action, I think Cherokee Bluff getting their first region win. I thought that was cool. That was kind of neat. Johnson. Oh my gosh! I mean, first region win since like 2004 and
4
18
overtimes.
4 overtimes,
Wow.
18-game winless streak in Region 8-5A. So that was good to see. But I might have to go. I think the score that surprised me the most was not that they won the game, but the manner in which they won was Gainesville just running ruckshot over Eversham Central.
Wow.
That was because I thought. I probably would have picked Hab in that game. Mm-hmm. So that was interesting.
Well, when you talk about picking Hab in that game, Hab came into the game kind of hot.
Oh, they came in very hot.
And Gainesville had gone through just a brutal schedule. And
brutal's not kind enough.
No.
I mean, it's not harsh enough.
Yeah. An awful schedule they played. Gainesville comes out 2-3. Last year they were over at this point. So, marked improvement with Gainesville this year.
Absolutely. I mean, they're 3-3. They were 0-6 last year. Mm-hmm. Now, granted, there were a couple of games that they lost on the last second plays last year, so they could have been, 2-4. Mm-hmm. But again, you have to learn how to win those games. And those are games they kind of gave away. So, they kind of put some of that behind them this year a little bit. I mean, but it's been a roller coaster.
No doubt.
I mean, Goliath has nothing on that Gainesville football team right now. It's buckle in with your seatbelt every time you go watch them.
Well, it's good to see that they're at 3-3 at this moment. So they move into a bye week this week to in preparation. So that's good to see that they get that bye week.
Now I got a question: is this going to be an up a week or a down week for them on the bye week? And which one do we put money on?
Well, let's hope it's going to be an up week in practice at least, because
the thing is, if they have a good week in practice, does that mean that they're then due for the bad game, or if they have a bad week in practice, they're going to have a good game? You see what I'm saying? You see where I'm going with it? I see where
you're going with that. If they travel to Winder Barrow in a couple of weeks, October 25th, so they got 2 weeks to get ready for the
and that's
Double
going to
G
be
Bulldogs.
And Winder, they're much improved.
Yes,
I think we all thought that they might be the weak link in the region, but they're putting something together this year.
Well, one of the things that we've done this week is we've gone out to the Brickyard. We talked to David Bishop. He's going to be on the show today. Also, we have Commerce Coach Michael Brown via the telephone. We'll talk about our Gaining the Edge Award winner, Jaquan Smith from Cherokee Bluff. And, of course, Seth will have his favorite segment of the show, Seth's Highlights, as he'll pick out his favorite highlights from Friday night, which there are probably several of those highlights. And I think there were several highlights, right?
Yeah, there were several good clips.
Yeah.
Friday I was putting everything together, and I saw a few that really, caught my eye. And it's, hey, I'll take this one for the Pics this week.
Well, cool.
So can't wait to see what those are.
Later in the show, we'll talk about that. Now, North Hall, the Trojans, they are back near 100% healthy. Of course, talking to Coach David Bishop. Both you and I both talked to Coach Bishop this week, and And Coach Bishop talking about the first time since the first quarter of the Gainesville scrimmage that North Hall
is that this year or last year?
North Hall is back healthy. They get some key defenders back. They get a key player back on offense. And, Jeff, you had a chance to actually kind of go in depth with Coach Bishop earlier this week.
I did. And I did talk to a couple of players, J.T. Fair, Luke Foley. Now, those are some guys that have managed to, not get bit by the injury bug, but Luke Foley's moved around all over the place. So this, getting him back in his natural positions is going to help the team, going to help him, help their depth, and it's really for Coach Bishop. It's not just the injuries and say a key guy, but your number two guy may be the number one on another, or vice versa. And so he ended up a lot of times in some of these with like a number three in a spot, and then it's just been a wild
mashup.
Yes, it's been a wild kind of season for them, and yet he's managed 3-3. They're 1-1, and they still have everything right in front of them despite all of this. You could almost look at this as a silver lining that last month of the season you get everybody, but they're fresh, which is this time of year. Teams are banged up.
Oh, yeah.
They're getting a lot of guys back. They're going to be fresh. So maybe a week or two to kind of break the ice a little bit, and then they're going to be rolling playoff time. I in an odd sort of way, this might actually work for them because, again, if they can manage to win out, they get Dawson County at the end of the season, and if they're both sitting where they are, that game's going to be for second place again. And we were looking at the Trojans with all their injuries and losses mounting. It's like, but getting everybody back at the right time. What's it like to finally be able to practice with your full complement of players?
Well, it is exciting because it's the first time since really the week of the Gainesville scrimmage. And, we get Clark back today. We've got Cade back. We've had a couple guys that didn't play in the GAC game, Nate Nixon and Luke Gunner, who were both our starting defensive ends who didn't play in that game. So it's nice to have everybody back. We're not going to be, I don't think, 100% full go up probably till next week because they have to work their way into practice because of the way things are designed with their injuries. So, but we'll have an opportunity for all those kids to play Friday night, which is kind of nice.
How has it been with this team and managing all that? How have they responded to all of this?
I think early on it was kind of difficult because we were having to deal with so many different moving parts and take kids like Luke Foley, for instance, who has been a receiver all his life and say, I need you to move the running back this week. And that's difficult when you ask a kid who's never played there to have to step in and be prepared to play in a situation that he's never done before. And then the times he was in there, did an amazing job. So I think you have that uneasiness that we dealt with for a little while. And then, we'd get one kid back and then we'd lose one in a different spot. So all in all, I think our kids handled it well. I think GAC was kind of one of those things where with the number of kids we had out and as well as we played, I think our kids realized, hey, we got things to be excited about, especially if we get back to full strength.
Well, this week y'all get Fannin County, which is a very improved team. They're undefeated in the region. They're looking to make some noise. And you're having to go to Blue Ridge, which can be a tough place to play. How do you see this game going this week?
Well, I think it's going to be a physical football game, which is the brand of football we enjoy, and it seems like they do as well. I think last year, if I'm not mistaken, they were 2-0 going into this game as well. I don't see where it's this big thing for us right now. It's just a matter of continuing to build upon what we've done. It's not a hit or miss. We're going to lose everything, but our kids are excited. They're chomping at the bit after a week off to get back and play because, as you talked about, we get our kids back. They were excited about how they were able to play against GAC, who I think right now is ranked number 3 in the state in AAA. So, you put all those things together, this team's ready to, kind of gel and make a big run as far as I'm concerned.
Well, like I said, Coach Bishop, it's talking about the injuries there and actually what moving forward will do for them. So I look for a really interesting game this week up in Fannin with them. I honestly think they're going to be the favorite. But Fannin is really playing well. I think that almost as a toss-up game, it's going to really depend if North Hall can get that ground game going because they're only averaging 25 points a game this season, which is really low for them and their offense. The injuries have had something to do. They had a lot of different pieces coming in this year. There's a lot. So if they're not able to, to kind of pop some big plays, Fannin County has the ability to score. So it's going to be a really interesting ball game up in Blue Ridge.
Well, that game will be broadcast live on FM 102.9. You can hear all the action there and also track it on the Friday game night page. Well, now to the point of the show, the fun part of the show, Seth's Pics. Seth Chapman will, he'll dig into the video library and see if he can find some good highlights from last week. Seth, what you got for us this week?
Got some pretty cool stuff this week. I just always like to remind everybody watching that not all these plays are pivotal to the games. Some of them are just things that I thought looked really cool. And just remember that because I didn't pick a play, that doesn't mean that I don't think it's important. That just means these are plays that really caught my eye.
Well, that's why they call it
Seth's Pics.
And as usual, always good picks from Seth. And Seth, he'll be out and about again this week as we're going to send him down to the great city of Jefferson.
Yeah, not that they're not great picks, but there were one or two that I thought I would like to have seen.
All those fancy little things that he puts in there. I know
there's Seth's Picks, but I wonder if we can start making some requests.
Seth's Swag. Maybe we should change it to that.
Can we start making some requests on Seth's Picks? Or is it Seth's Picks and only
It's Seth's Picks?
It's why it has Seth's name on it.
My picks.
It'll be
I'm
not
just
Jeff
tell me
and
what my
Seth's
picks are, Jeff.
Yeah.
I just wonder. I'm just curious.
I mean, I'm open to suggestions.
Open.
I am open.
But that doesn't mean he has to take your suggestion.
I got
Exactly.
That. I got that.
It's kind of like
open
that
to
suggestion
suggestions,
box.
But not necessarily malleable.
So sorry. Your
You
suggestion
just used the word
has been
malleable.
denied. Yeah,
Yes.
big
On-
word
on-
alert.
Malleable is not that big
I know
a
it's
word.
not. I'm just saying.
That's too much for a sports talk show.
Maybe we need to bring back word of the day like we had with Morgan.
That's a penalty flag. If I had a flag, I'd flag you for that.
Word of the day. What would be your word of the day?
Unnecessary.
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 All right, let's
Like this whole conversation.
Let's move on here. As usual, each week we get out to get out to a lot of schools, but we make it a point to get out in our Gaining the Edge segment. And this week I headed out to, because Seth dumped me. I headed out to Cherokee
That's a bit
Bluff.
harsh, don't you think?
I had to use that.
I
had to
hey,
get
Bo,
that in there.
I will tell you that I agree with you.
This is upsetting. I see how it is now. Okay.
So
He's like my wife. He's like my wife. He's always around except when you really need him.
That's right. So we headed out to the Bluff this week to talk to Coach Tommy Jones and our Gaining the Edge feature of Jaquan Smith, who had 244 yards rushing and 3 touchdowns in Bluff's first ever Region 7 3A win. First off, I want to talk about another win for the Bears and your first Region 7 3A win. What's that mean to the program?
A lot of excitement around Cherokee Bluff right now, and we knew this was going to be a slow process, but really excited that we're making progress and taking steps towards becoming a more complete football team and hopefully a really good program one day soon.
I give all the congratulations to my offensive line. They stepped up on a game we had to win, help us on our playoff run, and I give all the credit to them. they gave me the holes, and I just went to them.
So anyway, it's good to get out and talk to coaches, players, and, feature those players that do have a big night like Jaquan had this week in Bluff Swib. Now, up next, Michael Brown. And, Jeff, you had a chance to talk to Coach Brown from Commerce, who has a huge game this week against Hebron Christian.
Huge game. It's for the 8A is broken into two subregions. So this is they're both undefeated in the subregion. So this will be the first salvo that's going to be fired in the subregion. The way they do it in 8A is the teams that win the subregion, they play those crossover games at the end of the season. So 1 plays 1, 2 plays 2, 3 plays 3 in the subregion. So you have to finish first in your subregion to be able to have a chance to play for the region title, which is really important in Class A. If you win the region title, you get an automatic berth into the state tournament. Otherwise, you're subject to the power rankings. Now, not to say that, Commerce or Hebron Christian is not going to make the power rankings, but if you look at one of those two teams, it's really going to be important for Hebron, because when you look at the strength of the private aspect of Class A, you could be really good and be hanging on at 15 or 16, which is all they're going to, which is really tough. So, huge game, just an absolute huge game. Talk to Michael Brown, and what's interesting is they've had two really, really close games with Hebron the last couple of years. Both games total combined about 6 points total in the last two. And according to Michael Brown, he thinks this is the best Hebron team they've ever fielded. How do you see this? How good is this Hebron team this year?
It may be their best team. They're very, very talented. The quarterback, I think he's got somewhere around 15 offers. Several SEC schools have already offered him. They've got 3 or 4 really good receivers. They're big up front on offensive and defensive lines. Linebackers are really good. So this is probably, I would say it's probably their best team.
What's the key matchup in your mind? Is it your defense, perhaps being able to slow them down a little bit, or is your offense, if you're able to grind out some long drives, shorten a game, is that going to be the key?
We're going to do what we do. We're not going to change what we do on offense, and our game plan every week is pretty much the same, and that's to control the clock and execute and go on long drives and limit possessions, and that's always our game plan. Doesn't matter who we play. That's kind of what we do and what we've done for years around here. So, it all comes back down to the kids, buying in and doing their job and doing it to the best of their ability. So it's not just one position group that's a key matchup. It's those individual battles that are taking place every snap all through the night. And, we hope we can win our fair share of them and give ourselves a chance to be successful. It's hard to predict how a game's going to go. You got to play the game as it unfolds, and we just hope we can come out and execute the game plan on both sides of the ball, and then let the chips fall where they may. Anytime you're playing a quality opponent, it stretches you as a team, and you find out a lot about what you have, find out about what you're doing well, and you also find out about what you need to come back and focus on the correct. So, it's a opportunity for us to go out and get better as a team and stretch ourselves, physically and from an execution standpoint. And so, it's always a good thing to play guys that are really good, because, again, they make you better.
Interesting. Just really interesting, I thought. Michael Brown, he's not a man, he's not a big conversationalist, but he did have a lot to say beyond that about Hebron. And, the part that was really interesting was about the Division I quarterback and several other Division I guys on that team. Mm-hmm. So Commerce looks like they have their hands full. Now, they're going to be at home, an insanely tough place to play at Tiger Stadium over the years. It's going to be a great ball game. Great ball game.
One of the top games on the schedule this week, and of course a couple other top games on the schedule. We've already talked North Hall, Fannin County, Flowery Branch traveling down to Blessed Trinity. This one is a massive Region 7 4A matchup from the standpoint of who's going to win that region among a bunch of really, really loaded teams.
It is. So let's imagine your Flowery Branch. You go over to the Roswell, a team that you really had beat last year. Lost it on just one of the best games I've seen in a long, long time on that 2-point conversion. Let's say they go over there and win that game. Mm-hmm. Oh, they got Marist next week.
Right.
Let's say they win that game. Then they got Denmark after
Right,
that.
right.
So, I mean, if you win 7-4A, they might as well just call it in Class 4A, give them the championship.
Yeah, just forget the
because
rest
if
of
you can
playoffs.
run that gauntlet undefeated, they should just go ahead and give you the state title because you're not going to play anybody probably in 4A as tough as any of those three teams right there.
No doubt. Have a feature coming up on Branch and Blessed Trinity on Friday as our game of the week. We'll have interview with Coach Ben Hall as well in that. That game will be broadcast on AM 550. You can hear all the action live, FM 102.9, North Hall at Fannin County, and on the lake. You can hear East Hall at Cherokee Bluff. That should be an interesting Region 7 3A matchup. Now to the WilHart Team of the Week. Everybody looking forward to the WilHart Team of the Week. As we always say, well, we don't have a trophy or a gift or anything to give to the WilHart Team of the Week. Just a big old mention here on Access Sports Weekly. Now, the teams here on the nominated for the WilHart Team of the Week: Cherokee Bluff getting their first ever region win. Gainesville gets back on track with a big win over Hab Central, and Johnson pulls it out in 4 overtimes to break the 18-game region losing streak in 4 overtimes there. Jeff, what say you?
So I got to go first this week, huh? Because you went first last week.
That's
Is that
right. That's right. You're first.
Well, they're all big, honestly, but I'm going to just tell you because I have a soft spot in my heart for these guys. I'm going to go with Johnson and the 4 overtime because, that week I went out and I talked to Luttrell and some of the guys, and then they made me look good by getting that win. So I'm going to go with that one. And I believe I'm the reason why.
Well, we had Coach Luttrell on the Chop Block show on Thursday, and he said, the last time you guys had us on the show, we won. And, well, the last time we had Luttrell on the show, which was last Thursday, he wins again. He's probably going to come back on the show in a couple of weeks.
I would say, let's put a price tag on this.
Yeah.
Bring a check, Coach.
All right,
Bring
Coach,
a check.
it's working for you. Well, look, I'm going to go with you, and I'm going to agree with that. Johnson
Really?
in the overtime win.
I was ready I was ready this week.
You're ready.
I was ready.
Well,
okay.
I would have actually, if the decision had have gone to me, I would have gone Johnson as well.
Oh, it's a unanimous.
So it's unanimous.
Wow.
Johnson.
It is unanimous. I was running around the station editing while that game was finishing out. It was intense. It was very intense.
That was
impressive,
a crazy finish.
Very impressive to pull it out at the end.
Well, not
from
only
Johnson.
was that an impressive win, but it keeps Johnson's playoff hopes alive by beating Walnut Grove. So watch out for Johnson. They could possibly sneak into the playoffs. And again, congratulations, Johnson Knights, the WilHart Team of the Week, as we wrap things up here from our studios. And another great show, folks. We remind you to check us out on Twitter. That's at HartJJ22. I'm at the Bo Wilson. Check out our Friday Game Night page at Friday Game Night. And you can check our sports page out at WDUN Sports. Also coming up on Friday, a full rundown of everything on the Friday Game Night page. All of the games. I think we have 16 games in our area. We try to track every one of those games down with stats and highlights of those. So stick to AccessWDUN.com's Friday Game Night page. For Seth Chapman, our producer, always doing a wonderful job. For Jeff Hart, I'm Bo. Have a great rest of your week, everyone.